Time moves on. Times change. Technology changes. But these vehicles, they're locked into the time that they were manufactured. Ashtrays, cigarette lighters, AM radios. Sometimes that's as high-tech as you could get, depending on when the vehicle was produced. But no matter how correct you want your restoration to be, you can always find subtle ways to improve on what the factory did. If you decide you want a different color on the interior of your truck, well, you shouldn't have to buy everything new to replace it just to change that color. Well, you don't. You can change the color of the panels, and LMCTruck has found an excellent product to do just that. Colorbond has many different color options and some LMC exclusive colors too that you can use to match or change the color of your interior panels. Now, plastic is different from metal, obviously, but it's really no different to prep for paint. And every paint job requires correct preparation to make the paint stick. And if you follow some simple rules, you're going to have success. But you've got to know the rules in the first place. Lots of people get intimidated by paint jobs, but I'm here to change that. So here's the plan of attack. We've got two parts here. We're going to show you how to color change. One is hard plastic and one is flexible. We're going to use the same paint on both and the same prep process on both of them. Most of your interior panels have a texture, a grain to them, and we want to respect that grain. Typical surface prep is using sandpaper. It's no different. However, if we use sandpaper on this hard plastic part, we can eliminate some of that grain. So we're using a flexible scuffing pad, which will conform to the little textured surface and give us the surface preparation we need, i.e. the tooth that paint requires to lock into a surface without changing the textured pattern. Before we do any of that, we got to clean it. And we're going to use a common powdered household cleaner and the hottest water we can possibly get. That's the first step. Using the super aggressive household cleaner, the abrasive scuffing pad, and a vigorous action will clean down into the pores of the plastic and, more importantly, put a mechanical tooth or a scratch inside the textured surfaces, which is really important for proper adhesion or the way the paint sticks to the surface. Make sure you use a pretty good amount of pressure and go over the surface several times to thoroughly clean. Remember, you're cleaning off years of skin oils, interior dressings, dust, all kinds of debris out of the vinyl grain as well as the plastic itself, so be thorough. This is interesting. The paint just flew right off of this metal piece, but the super aggressive cleaner and the scuffing pad has got us prepped for this all the same. Next, after the water-based cleaner, use an acetone, a naphtha, or a mild solvent cleaner to wipe off any other residue that the organic cleaner didn't catch. Some of your plastic interior parts are molded in color. Some of them are painted at the factory. Well, if they're painted at the factory, it's really simple for paint prep. What you need to do is clean them very thoroughly, hit them with a scuff pad, and they're ready to paint. The paint's going to stick. If they're molded in plastic, you can kind of tell a couple of different ways. If you flip the part over and you don't see any overspray, and the part is the same color on the back as it is on the front, it's probably molded in plastic. And for the paint to properly stick, you need to use an adhesion promoter. Here's a great way to tell if the adhesion promoter is going to work on your parts. I'm going to spray a little bit of adhesion promoter there and work it into the plastic. The color isn't changing and it feels gummy. That tells me the adhesion promoter is doing what it's supposed to do. The role of the adhesion promoter is to swell up the top layer of the plastic so that when you apply your paint, when it swells back down again, it grabs onto it and it gives a really great bond. So now on your hard plastic parts that aren't painted, you know what to do. We're using 2 medium coats of adhesion promoter with a couple of minutes in between the coats. Then, applying some heat to the plastic with a hairdryer. If you have any bright metal you don't want painted, you can use masking tape to cover it up during the painting process. You'll need several coats of Colorbond spray. Each coat needs to be consistent with a 50% overlap on each pass and a medium coat, not too wet and not dry. After 10 or 15 minutes dry time, the end result is a super even finish, just the right amount of gloss, and we can see all of the vinyl texture coming through. Couple more details to remember. Make sure it's 60 degrees or above while you're spraying this coating in order for it to properly dry and cure. And make sure you're in a well-ventilated area and still protect yourself while you're spraying. Also keep in mind that the bond strengthens over time. Let these sit a couple of hours, if not overnight, before you reinstall them onto your truck. Now here's something really cool. LMCTruck has just come out with a replacement dash assembly for 88 through 94 Chevrolet trucks. Finally, it's awesome. However, we've got a bit of a unicorn right here. This truck is one of the only ones I've ever seen with this amount of age and miles and wear and tear on it with a perfect dash. So we don't need a new dash in this particular truck. However, we still need to color change it, just like you would the new dash. So using the techniques that we've shown you, you can lift the appearance of your truck regardless of what year it is for a very slim budget. That's going to be a great upgrade. Now, it took us about a day's worth of hard work and prep to get everything ready and everything color changed, but man, what a difference. So now we can go about reassembly. Before we completely reassemble this, there's something else inside the cab on the dash that we're going to change. If you remember when we inspected this vehicle, neither the radio nor the heater controls worked. So we're about to find out why. This truck has a two-piece system that is done. It's toast. We're going to replace it with the Santa Cruz two-piece system that fits into the dash just like the factory system. It's even got similar colors, bolts right in. The radio body itself has lots of watts, enough for good sound, but it also has external outs if you want to upgrade to a power amp later on. It's got several external USB ports if you want to plug in other devices, and the radio face connects easily to the radio body with the multi-pin plug, super easy. The thing I like the most about it is that they offer an antenna adapter. You don't have to change your factory antenna, and there's this multi-pin plug that ties right in to your factory main harness. You don't have to be an expert to install this and have a really great sounding system, and there's tons of options you can build on without blowing everything apart again. So for your truck, check the LMCTruck catalog to see which system fits yours. I've used several of these. As a matter of fact, on the website, there's a video tab. You can see a full installation into a square body truck with a retro sound system. Easy peasy. For now, what we're going to do is install the head unit and the radio body, get everything tied in to where we can figure out what we're doing with our speakers and still move forward with assembling the interior of our trucks. Installing the radio is straightforward, but I still don't really know why the heater controls don't work. I've got a good friend that's really good at diagnosing vehicle electronics issues, especially with these OBS trucks. He's kind of an expert. So I'll finish installing this, and then I'll talk to my friend. Arnie, you can expect a call. Our gauge cluster looked terrible, but in behind the scratched plastic lens, it was in perfect shape. So I got the dust off the gauges with a soft brush. Polish the lens, I'm using an automotive rubbing compound and a rotary polisher. This can be done by hand with more rubbing, but the polisher does a nice job a little bit faster since the plastic is fairly soft. Here's something I learned back in my body shop days. Don't try to force the cluster or the bezel into the dash around the steering wheel or shifter. Turn the key, drop it down into a forward gear, and if you've got a tilt column, tilt it down to get some more clearance. There's always a way to put these trucks back together without forcing things. It is so neat to see this dash coming back together. And knowing that it won't flake off or chip feels good too. Invest the time in proper prep steps. It's really worth it. I'm stoked at the way this dash looks. And now we can start replacing parts in the rest of the cabin, building our interior back up again. Our interior is getting transformed from what once looked like a farm truck to now what looks like it just rolled off the line. Well, almost. And with every category almost checked off the list, this feels great. Looks great too. Smells good too.